Welcome back to part 6. We're going to continue to clean up the chassis and start replacing some of the components. And I'm starting with this capacitor resistance board that's mounts inside the bottom of the radio. And I've got my components back here to replace them, and just taking this one at a time and checking them and replacing them, cleaning it up, going to dress up the wires, maybe replace them, and go from there. Okie dokie. We've rebuilt this board, changed all the wires, changed all the components except this one, and I felt like it was close enough to leave in, and so I left it. And so that's quite a few of the components that's in the circuit. And so now from here we're going to go up under the chassis and start rebuilding and rewiring where the rats have been gnawing on it. I went ahead and replaced that 32K 2-watt resistor. I had to order for the filter choke itself, so while I was ordering, I just went ahead and ordered this to get it a little closer. As you can see, the difference in the sizes, but I believe this one is a 3-watt instead of a 2-watt. I got the filter choke in. The problem with ordering the chokes, shipping. If you're having to order one of these, be sure to check your shipping before checkout. I had to cancel an order or two because they just wanted like $13 to ship this. I finally got it a little cheaper, but try to order other things with it also. But I just went ahead and cleaned that up and redone all the wires, and thought I would add that I changed that one because I think on the previous thing I didn't change that resistor. So I'm going to go ahead and rebuild this capacitor and go ahead and start doing the wiring on the radio. Done some cleaning on the chassis. Used some Brasso and Mother's Mag and aluminum polish. Not a whole lot of rust to really be concerned with. It's not going to be perfect. I don't think I need to paint it, but it's easier to work with it being this clean now. Let's go look at the filter capacitors and cut those open and rebuild those to get them ready to go back in the set. I'm going to restuff these electrolytic capacitors. This is the 8 microfarad. As you can see, it's been leaking. And I'm not rebuilding it just because trying to restore it, to keep it as original as possible, but it just doesn't have the real estate underneath to do it. So this would be a fine way to hide the electrolytics and have a lot more space. A little bit more effort, but I'm going to go ahead and use some of this Mother's Mag and aluminum polish to clean this up a little bit. And then what we'll do is anywhere below this line is we will cut it, leave a little lip, probably midway or so. And I use a serrated steak knife. Some people use the tubing cutter. I don't have one that's big. It won't go that big. So I use I'll take a piece of paper and I'll go around it like this and then draw a line and then take that knife and just cut it and pull it apart and get everything out. Try to save this grommet, but we can come up with a piece of insulation for that. And we'll pull all the stuffing out of it and then put it back. I'll probably go back with a 10 microfarad at 450 volts. I think that's what I have. And then we will, what I like to do is, if there's not a membrane in here, a lot of times they'll have like a membrane that keeps this insulated. I'll put it back in there and glue both ends, so that kind of holds it together. But when you put that clamp on like that, it will hold it together, and it'll be more secure when it's back in the radio. Let me do some cleaning on this, and I'll show you what I come up with. I've got this kind of cleaned up a little bit. It's beat up a little bit, but the labeling, I went real light on that. Try to have some identification on it, because if you rub too hard, that will come off. I cheated a little bit at first. I used some 4/0 steel wool, and then I used the Mother's Magna aluminum polish. But I went ahead and I put a piece of paper around there, and as you can see, I've got a line drawn around there. And so I'll use my knife and we'll saw that in two, and then I'll come back and we'll pull it apart. And what I did is I used that, and I went along my line and just kept scoring it until I got it round and round. Now let's go ahead and get some more tools out and a marker or so. I'm gonna mark where it should go back together if it don't fall apart, but there's enough little things on there that you can see, like you can figure out where it goes back together, I think. So let's pull it apart and see what's in it. I think I know. And there's that membrane we were talking about. Here's the little accordion. And this had liquid, a borated liquid. Now if you lick that and get it in you, it'll probably be a good laxative, so I'd avoid that if I were you. Now here's the little membrane I was telling you about. We can take and we can utilize this, take a piece of it, or even the entire thing, because it's non-conductive. We can put that back in there when we go to glue it back together, and that'll hold both pieces together. I'll clean this out. It's not really, there's some powder in it, I believe. Yeah, there was powder in it, boron. And we'll clean this up a little bit, and let's see what I want to do. I want to come right up here, and we will, there's a tab there. I want to take that tab, it's crimped on there, and I don't know if I can or can't get that off, because you can't solder to this aluminum, because this is like an aluminum rod. I'll try to keep you on camera. Maybe we can crimp this back on. If we can't, we'll put us a terminal on there. What I like to do is go back with maybe a number 10 wire, and I've got to get me some new fine point. Those are about worn out, and they don't want to give those to me. They're almost 20 bucks. But, you know, it's a necessary thing. Okay, we got that off. We'll put that aside. Maybe we can use it. Now let's see if we can pull this out. and I think we can still use that. We'll put another piece of number 10 wire, solid wire in there, and then we'll connect all our capacitor to there. Now, there is not much way to attach to the ground of this, so we'll have to come up with some way to ground the negative side of the capacitor to here, and we may end up using a screw and put it on there with a an eyelet or something like that. I wish there was a better way, but there's not. Let's go over what I've done up to this point. If you'll remember, I took a little sandpaper and I got the burrs off the inside and outside of both where I cut this. What I've done is I took a pair of scissors and I cut this membrane. You can see it's not metal, it's actually some phenolic type material, and I broke it, but it's okay. I just wanted a piece of it as to go inside here to give a surface for this to adhere to both of them, kind of like a scab it together or whatever you want to call it. But then I took a piece of 10 gauge solid wire, left the insulation on in the center so that it would fit in that pretty solid, and then I took my 10 microfarad capacitor, wrapped the positive end here, and then I came down here and I drilled 2 holes, one for the lead to come out, and then I put a self-tapping screw to and put an eye on there. So I'm going to run that through there and solder that so that'll have a good ground to the bottom. I guess you could pull this up to the side and let the clamp that holds it in the chassis do the grounding, but this I feel like is going to be a better ground. The other one that's got the tube to insulate it from chassis ground has got a tab, which is just, if you can see it, it's just slid up in there, and then when we pull this tube off, this will come off. So we'll try to put that back in there, and the clamp holds it in place. So we shouldn't have to do anything but drill 2 holes and bring our capacitor leads out to each one of those. But let's see, I took on this eye here, I took and cut the plastic sleeve off it, and I will go back on here and crimp it and probably go ahead and solder that in place too. And then when the time comes, we'll put some epoxy. I'll put a capacitance meter on it and check it, and then we'll come back, we'll find our line there and there, and then we'll mix us up some epoxy. We'll put it back together and glue it, make sure that we get plenty of epoxy in there. And that I need to clean that out a little more. That powder, keep it from adhering. So let me pull that stuff back out again, and we'll clean that up. And then that should be rebuilt. And then, like I said before, when you glue this back together, the clamp on the radio will go like right there, and we'll hold that together anyway. Alright, I've got this mixed up. It's starting to cook a little bit. I've got my little block of wood that I use a lot and so we want to make sure we get glue inside here on the face of this, this. Make sure we get a good bit, because this is going to be like a bridge for us to go in there. All right, that's looking good. And so we'll put some more up high. Especially the places that both places are going to, both tubes or both aluminum is going to, and we make a mess sometimes, but we've got to, right? It's in our nature to make a mess sometimes. Okay. I hope I did half of that on camera anyway. I don't know if you guys never filmed while trying to work on stuff. You try to pay attention to what you're doing, and sometimes you get on camera, sometimes you don't. I try to keep an eye out in the lens or in the viewfinder to make sure try to keep the mess down to a minimum. But the big thing is I want to stand that up as straight as I can, and it should set just like that. So that's 5-minute setting epoxy JB Weld. So we'll let that set probably 24 hours or so. Okay, has been almost 24 hours, and so didn't stick much. Oh, kicked the bucket. Anyway, what's important is I'm going to take something, some Scotch Brite, and I'm going to make sure that the excess glue is off here, because with this one it's important that, I almost used the word imperative, that's not like me, but that clamp makes a good connection, because that is the ground of the capacitor. So you want to make sure you get a good surface there. And remember, this is going to be underneath the clamp. Won't ever see it. It'll actually be like that. I think that was down to the bottom, so you'll never see the seam, and it'll also help hold it. Okay, quickly, I'll show you about this one. As you can see, this has stayed, and all this is the compression of that tube holds that against this capacitor. So this is, I think it's probably the same. No, it can't be the same capacitor, because this has got two 8 microfarads inside, so it's a different number. I'm not sure how much cleanup I'm going to do on this. It's pretty good. It's been preserved by the tube, which has seen better days, but I may just flip this over because I have a better tube, but I don't know. We'll see. But I will clean this up just a little bit, and we will rebuild this with 2. And they're the same, so it shouldn't be an issue as long as we and so what we'll end up doing probably is, this is the way it's I see, no, it's this way. I think this is the way it was in there being held. So we'll probably just come right over here and come out with our grounds of our capacitors and solder it to this, and it'll also help keep it in place, but then that tube and that clamp will keep it. Now typically I saw it in this groove. The other one doesn't have this indentation, so this, I usually do this here and basically do it the same way. Use that mesh. If there's mesh in here, I'll use it, but if I don't, I've got this. I wasn't going to show this capacitor rebuild, but it's built totally different than the other. It's got it's a waxy, it's the electrolyte, and so what I plan on doing is I'm going to take and drill it out. I'll get it over a garbage can, drill it out, pull it. I didn't want you to think that this one was just like the other. The other one was simple. This one's a little bit more difficult, but the reason I'm showing it to you is on this side of the camera, a lot of guys say, well, I'm going to rebuild it, and they go on and they never show the actual process. Now, whether this process is correct or whatever, your mileage may vary, but I wanted to show how I did it, and maybe that'll encourage somebody else that says, you know, I can't do this. I think you can. Most people can if you're just real careful. Biggest thing is not to hurt yourself. So let me get this over a garbage can, get everything in place, and I'll actually probably show you some video unless I drill a hole in my hand or something like that. I'm going to start out with a smaller drill bit, and hopefully, as you can see, this is take 2 because I didn't have my microphone on. So my producer, he forgot to make sure that everybody was mic'd up and all. But anyway, maybe I won't put my eye on and drill my hand or make too big a mess anyway. But the concept of this is to drill a hole into the center of this and then make it bigger and then start collapsing the material to the center so it'll come out. So I don't think I'm going to go all the way to the end, but either my drill bit is extremely dull, or you can see how it's all gummed up with the wax and dielectric material and aluminum. So let me change bits and we'll go a little deeper. And I guess I need to get a better battery. My battery's about had it. You see how that cakes up in there? A little bit more and I think I can start digging it out. This is tough stuff. I don't believe I've had one this bad. It's kind of like a chain reaction. Once you get it started, it'll start coming out. And it probably is quicker off camera Because nothing ever works on camera the way you want to. And guys that video these things know what I'm talking about. If you're trying to show somebody something, it doesn't work exactly the way you'd planned it. And then when you're not filming, it works great. You know? So let's see if we can. And I may end up editing and cutting a lot of this out, because a lot of this you don't need to see. I promise I'll leave the blood and the gore in if I do something stupid. And I have done stupid things. Alright, I'm still working on it. I have drilled multiple holes around the perimeter, and you've got to really be careful when you do this, because if you're not careful, you'll booger up. And booger is a word. Booger up the side. Which, it's only cosmetic, it's not going to affect anything, but this will be inside a tube, so it shouldn't make any difference. And I took a little torch and I heated it up a little bit. Now you can see it's not that hot because I'm holding it, so, but trying to just loosen up and you just keep picking at it, and you know, you start getting stuff out of it. Just repeat drilling and picking, and you'll eventually get it. Main thing, not to cut yourself on this rough edge. Drill your hand out. Yeah. And by heating it, it's kind of releases the side, but like I've said, this is probably the toughest one I've ever had to get out. And I'll just keep picking at it and drilling at it until I get it all out. I've started going down the side with a screwdriver and kind of twisting a little bit, getting it away from the outer edge as far down as I can get, and see if I can pick it out that way. Yeah, the point was to make this look easy. But sometimes things are not easy, but they're doable. I kept drilling, picking, and heating it up. Finally got a hold of it, and when I saw the drill bit was pushing it down, I thought I might have a chance of getting it out, or at least most of it. This is going to turn loose in just a minute. Here it comes. That'll have to be cleaned out, but that's what's left of it. It has the wax on the outside. I guess I didn't heat that good enough, or it had turned loose earlier, I guess, but it was really crammed in there. So alright, I think that's all. I showed you how easy it was now, so you can go do it. But you know, some things are not easy, and I would have put this stuff under the chassis instead of rebuilding these cans, because it really wasn't trying to get it back to the original or anything like that. It's just there's just not that much room underneath there, and so rebuilding the cans are space saving, and that's where we're at. So anyway, I got to clean this mess up, and then we'll go forward with it. This video is gonna be long, I believe. I thought I would just be able to say, hey, I did the other one, but this one is a little bit more detailed than the other one, and it's different. So I cleaned that out. Best I could do is I took a little torch and I heated this up and then wiped it out. I deburred all this so I don't cut myself. Don't ask me how I know. You can cut yourself with those. But each one of those were 8 microfarads apiece, and so I put a 10 in with a common ground. Now the way we're going to attach this ground, if you'll remember, it had this little tab, and this little tab goes to C51, which is right here. Let's see, the C51 is right here, and that's what keeps this center off of chassis ground. So this ground for both of those 50A and B goes to that C51, which is the one of the bake lights. I've already rebuilt it. So, and it was attached by this, and it was just a pressure held on by the clamp inside that tube. So what I did is I drilled holes beside each one of these, and I drilled another hole for the ground. And so what I plan on doing is to plan. I'm gonna try. Well, that didn't work out, did it? It actually goes in this way, and it's a lot easier. Got it backwards, because if you remember, this is pinched there. So, and here's the wire that goes to C51. So we'll take, and then we'll bring this wire up, and we will solder it to the 2 grounds of the 210 microfarad capacitor, and of course the positive go to each one of these. So let me wrap this good and solder it, and then we'll see how we put it together. I made a little pigtail corkscrew to put it on that lead, if I can get it to go on there fairly tight. Make sure we don't get it down in there to where it shorts. So that'll be nice there. Plenty of room there, not an issue. We put a little dab of solder on there, and life should be pretty good. Yeah, in this video I'm showing a little bit more of my work instead of letting you guess about it. And that way you can get an idea, and it may be the right way for you, and it may not be the right way. You may have a better way, and that's okay. And if you do, give me feedback, because that's what it's about. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to take that piece of phenolic type membrane, or whatever you want to call it, mesh, and we're going to slide it right over this. And then what I want to do is go ahead and get some epoxy inside here to this, to let this go ahead and set, and then I'll be able to slide this over and glue it together that way. Then when it's all glued together, we can slip the tube over it, the cardboard tube, and then the clamp should hold all that in place. So let me get some epoxy. I'm not going to show you how to epoxy it, but I think you can figure it out from here on. This mesh was a little bit warped a little bit, and so what I did is I put it in there and marked it, and then cut a piece of it off so that when it goes together it won't overlap. Now I'm going to try to make this a little bit rounder, and what I plan on doing is I'll take a little torch, $5 torch from the dollar store, and heat this phenolic and try to get it to straighten out more in a circle. Doesn't seem to hold heat very long, and that's okay. So hopefully I may need to get a smaller diameter to be able to do that. As you can see, that it's going to round out pretty good so that we get more surface area on both sides of the cans. Now, I got to thinking about this. This really doesn't have to make good contact here because I've got a direct wire from the negative sides of the capacitors to it. So that's just going to be a junction there. So if this makes contact, fine. If it don't, fine. It may cause some noise if it's not, but it shouldn't. It should make good contact. That's the way it was. That was the way it was designed to start with. I got a good layer of epoxy, 5-minute set epoxy, in there, inside the mesh and all the way around, and put a little weight on it just to kind of keep it down in there because there's not a whole lot of clearance here. I guess I could have cut it up a little higher because that clamp goes up pretty high, but I kind of just divided it halfway, and so we're going to let this set and cure, and then we'll go ahead and put some more on the inside here and put you can see how I boogered that up. But as I said earlier, the tube will go and cover that, so that's not a major issue at this point. So this has set. It's not totally hardened exactly, but what I plan on doing is take, and I've mixed up some more, and put it on the inside of this can, maybe a little bit here on the top, and like that. Like that. I don't like it on the inside. I need it on the outside. Maybe I'm getting all this on video. And then I want to make sure I put some right in here. Shouldn't have to have any problem with it being roughed up on the inside after I pried all that material out of here. But this should hold pretty good. So we're just going to slide that over there. Make sure it's lined up. And then let it set a little bit. Now this one, we can leave a little bit of residual on the outside because this is isolated from ground, so it's not going to really make that big a difference. Hope I don't ruin my tape there. That tape's what I use for labeling. It's cheap enough, it's $1 a roll. So. All right, we'll let that sit. And that should take care of business. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. And so I'm gonna tell you that from Larry, from the hills of Tennessee, thanks for watching.